Prashant, and we're here on Facebook Live to tell you about the markets. Well, not much to tell you about today because it was a very stable day, calm waters. The Nifty was just around 8,700, but the Bank Nifty did very well. So once again, outperformance there, and we had names like ICICI Bank that are just surging away. So in that sense, yes, the last couple of days have been volatile, but today has been good, Prashant.
It's been good. I mean, actually, to rewind, not 24 hours, not full 24 hours, but you had GST, which turned out to be a dud.
Yeah.
There was nothing there. It was a big thing, apparently, was supposed to be a big thing.
Yeah.
We were supposed to get rates, etc., but nothing came out of it.
Yeah.
And then you had the debate this morning, which again, I think, I mean, I don't think anybody's got a real clue in terms of which way this latest debate is going to influence polls and markets. But, nevertheless, elections are a big thing. They're just 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
But coming to the markets, I think ICICI Bank, as you said, right? I mean, that kind of stands out as a star. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, absolutely calm. 40 points. It looks like, it started at a certain level and kind of proceeded to stabilize through the day.
The only issue is, I guess, this 8,700 to 8,750 zone has been a bit of a roadblock for the market for a while, and there seems to be a bit of fatigue in the market at these higher levels. So you need a really strong trigger, whether it's Reliance's numbers, whether it's anything else, but that trigger is not visible just yet. But in that context, talking about earnings, Yes Bank had a very strong set of numbers, and we had so many good earnings from the broader markets today, whether it was LIC Housing, whether it was RBL Bank.
I mean, financials are all looking pretty good, right? I mean, technology has been looking good. Although we also had a couple of disappointments. DB Corp, for example, reported numbers. Ad revenue growth was off.
Yeah.
The stock corrected 40 rupees from the high. I think we had
Kajaria Ceramics was quite disappointing. Yeah.
Again, I mean, but that is a derivative of how the real estate sector does, and they're also disappointed. So, I mean, earnings sort of coming back into full flow. And I think, as Sonia mentioned, Reliance has known to give 4-5% moves, right? I mean, the day after the results. And it's not as if the stock has done a huge amount of run-up or anything.
Oh, hardly. I mean, it's up some 10% since August.
Yeah. It's kind of nicely poised, so it could give you a surprise if the numbers are much better than expected.
Oh yes, and not just Reliance, but if you're talking about heavyweights, then ICICI Bank has been participating quite a bit. Yes Bank came out with a very good set of numbers. IndusInd Bank numbers were very good. So far, I know it's very early in the earnings season, but so far we haven't gotten any shocks, barring maybe a TCS. So far, the earnings calendar has been positive.
No, I think, I've said this from the beginning of this week that at least for ICICI Bank, and the stock was at about 245 odd rupees or so. It's moved up to where it is now, I think 275, 280. But it's if you think of large cap stocks where you have a clear direction, some clear juice left, I think that is, you have both things going for it. You've got decent news flow, and you got low valuations. So I mean, those two things have to come together, and for ICICI it came together this week, and I think it's kind of ending the week in a flourish. We got one more day left, but I think it's done very well. Oh yes, it has.
So let's try and get some questions, Prashant. We have once again Prashant, your namesake, asking us.
We always seem to be starting questions.
Yeah, we start. He has a question for us. He asks us about your view on Reliance Capital ahead of the numbers. And there's Mohit Chawla who asks us what's the view on RBL Bank. Now, since RBL Bank's numbers are already out, let's talk about that first. Great set of numbers, solid top line growth, very good profit growth. The asset quality was quite good as well for the bank, and more importantly, Vishwavi Rahuja, who is the MD of the who's the head of the bank now, he comes with a great background, and I mean it's just a first time post listing, right? The debut performance of RBL Bank, but the performance has been pretty impressive.
Absolutely, the stock has also done very well.
Yeah.
The question which many have asked themselves, and people who've seen the sector when the last round of private sector banks listed like Yes, etc. is, can RBL do another Yes? I think that's the big question, right?
Yeah.
Now to that, I think you need a little bit of crystal ball gazing, or maybe not so much as crystal ball gazing. You need to get in at the right valuation and kind of stick on with the story for a long time. The sector is right. It's still a relatively smaller bank as compared to some of the other large incumbents. So, I mean, seems like a good story.
Oh yes, it does, definitely. I mean, looking at the numbers that it posted this quarter, pretty good. But let's get some more calls in now. Someone asking me, Inderpreet, saying, hi Sonia, hi Inderpreet, can I buy Maruti at these levels for 3 months? Now, we don't recommend buys or sells, But all we can say is that Maruti is going through a great phase where everything is working for it. It has a whole host of new launches lined up. The festive season has been very strong for Maruti. The waiting period on names like Vitara, Brezza as well as the Ciaz are quite high. It's just facing a bit of production constraints right now because it doesn't have so much capacity.
Which is a good problem to have, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's a good problem. By the way, I think the results are on the 27th or the 28th.
Yes.
And the numbers are expected to be super strong.
They are, yeah.
So, I mean, the market talk, as they say, is that it's going to be a super strong set of results from Maruti.
Because everything's been going well for the company. So I guess, I mean, you can, the writing is on the wall. We don't have to tell you whether to buy or sell. Maruti is a stock that's, for the long haul.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, let's get some more questions then. Can we see more upside in TVS Motors and Vedanta? A lot of questions on Vedanta and Hindalco. You want to take them?
I mean, commodities are best bought at extreme low points. I mean, and sold at extreme high points. But I mean, more from a buying perspective, you want to buy these stocks at very, very low levels. Those low levels happened back in February and March of this year, of 2016, when all these stocks were basically 40-50% of where they are right now. So they've all doubled basically from those February, March lows. So, I mean, now essentially, and by the way, metal prices have also done very well. I mean, commodity prices are up generally. I mean, zinc has been the best performer in terms of non-oil. Oil has also doubled essentially from the lows, almost doubled from the lows of early last year. So, I think you're now kind of more in a zone where you have to follow what commodity prices do. I mean, it's not as if you were getting these stocks at a fraction of what their intrinsic value was worth. So, I mean, so I think you have to look at the direction of all these commodities and how they sort of do. And then you've got to watch all the other factors, like 1,000 other factors. The most important, of course, being how China is doing, for
global
example,
commodity
et cetera,
prices,
et cetera.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one more question coming in. Samir Abdul asks us, hi Samir, he says, is LIC Housing a good buy now? Now, LIC Housing came out with their numbers and the numbers were very good. Across the board, top line growth was strong, bottom line growth of 30%. The disbursement growth for LIC Housing Finance, and you know what, this has been a huge wealth creator. Agreed, today the stock sort of saw some profit taking post numbers, but as they say, the best time to sell a stock is never, right? To sell a good stock is never. So so I guess some of these names have been generating wealth and they continue to report good numbers.
And I think because we get so many queries on other housing finance companies as well, I think some of the results from financials which we've got so far could, especially not the PSU banks, because in PSU banks, for example, one bank does very well, the other bank can do extremely badly. There is a wide variation, a wide difference. But for something like a LIC Housing Finance, it just does give you a sense of how other housing finance companies around which there is so much interest can do. And by the way, we've been talking with all these companies through the quarter, and at no point have we gotten a sense that business momentum has slowed down on anything, right? So no reason why the numbers should not be as good.
Oh yes, I mean, it seems like the trend could continue for these NBFCs, however expensive they are. A lot of questions coming in on Havels. So Kaliki Murthy asks us about Havels and the the view on that for the near term. Now Havels came out with their numbers, right? And valuations are the concern. Also, the growth has slowed down. I mean, overall revenue growth of less than 10%. Switch gears, which is one of their key segments, the growth has slowed down to 5%. And when a stock is trading at about 38, 37 times forward, you don't have any scope for error. And in such a case, with such low growth, I think investors are bound to be disappointed.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great franchise. There's absolutely no doubt about it. One of the better franchises as far as the consumer electronics market is concerned, if you want to call it that. But I mean, valuations are the problem, and that's true across sectors. I think a case in point was DB Corp today, where valuations, again, big problem. Kajaria, for example, again, same issue. I mean, it's not
huge
the
rally.
Numbers were down 50% or anything, right? But the point is, stock has done so well. It's trading at whatever 40, 45 times earnings, and then numbers don't perform as well as what you expect, and you get big cuts. I think that's the issue with Havels.
But that's also, a healthy sign in the market, right, Prashant? I mean, there's no euphoria in the market. There is no exuberance on mid caps and small caps. If you're performing badly, the stocks are correcting. So that's always a healthy sign.
It's a healthy sign. Although I think I must point out that the euphoria happened before, right? I mean, leading up to the results, a lot of these stocks have done very well. So, I mean, they're reacting to results, which is a good thing, as you say.
Oh yes, it is. In fact, we've run out of time. So one final question, I guess. What will the Nifty be at the end of the month? Now that's anybody's best guess. You want to take a go on that
absolutely
one?
Absolutely not.
Our jobs are going to be at stake, right? But guys, thank you so much. We enjoyed this discussion. Do join us every evening at 4 o'clock on Facebook Live, and of course through the day you can watch us on CNBC TV 18.
Thank you.